But I think for me, it's, I grew up with ADD, really ADHD. I couldn't still, my brain was incredibly active. I was just going a million miles a minute forever. And so, discovering THC and CBD as an adult was had a huge impact. Little did I know and understand that, taking THC on a regular basis is not good for the brain. It affects your REM sleep. It affects your mental state. It affects a lot of different things over time.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Thrive State Podcast. I am your host, Dr. V, triple board certified MD and performance and longevity expert, and I welcome you to today's podcast where we go into the topic of sleep. As you may have read in my book, Thrive State, sleep is the first of 7 bioenergetic elements that really determine how our health is, our ability to perform, whether or not we live a long time. It's so important that we sleep. And right now, the world is facing a sleep deprivation epidemic. People are not getting enough sleep, which is leading to chronic disease, as well as leading to poor performance in people's lives. As you've been listening to the podcast, you know that you are your best medicine. So there's so much you can do on your own for free to actually optimize your sleep. You want to learn how to use those tools so that you could optimize your sleep on your own. Check out episode 189 with Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor, to get those cues. Now, in addition to things you could do on your own, there's also technology and devices that could supercharge getting you to where you want to be. This is a conversation in sleep of a new technology that you may want to be aware of. So I hope you get really excited about the podcast. Before we dive in, though, if you are new to the podcast, welcome in. This is a place where I have the privilege of interviewing thought leaders and world experts in longevity, peak performance, human potential, giving you the tools and tactics to take your life to the next level, improving what I call the Thrive State, which is this energetic state of being that actually activates the genes of human performance and longevity. Loyal listener, I want to give you some free tools to get you started on your Thrive State journey. Go to thrivestatestarter.com to get lecture notes, to get breathwork exercises, longevity and performance resources delivered right to your email box right now by going to thrivestatestarter.com. And of course, if you are a loyal listener, thank you so much for helping us allow the show to so much for helping the show grow. You can continue to do so by subscribing, engaging with our podcasts, with comments, and sharing this podcast with your friends and family members. Now, on to today's guest. Today's guest is actually the CEO of a company called Somnee. Today's show, who my guest is CEO of Somnee, a company aiming to help people sleep better through personalized neuroscience, has been brought onto Somnee to leverage his expertise across the health and wellness industry, as well as his unprecedented track record in scaling companies. Our next guest actually has over 20 years of experience in consumer and enterprise marketing, business management, and launching world-class brands. Having personally experienced insomnia, our guest is passionate about providing those who struggle with sleep a determinant for our day-to-day functioning, concentration, mood, and health with a solution that isn't harmful or habituating. You may know our guest because he was the chief marketing officer at Fitbit, where he was pivotal in establishing the category of connected health and fitness wearable products. He's built the organization's global marketing function, growing it from 5 to more than 120, and in turn, helped Fitbit IPO and become a beloved top 20 consumer brand with more than 140 million devices sold in over 100 countries and 40,000 retailers, ultimately selling to Google for $2.1 billion. So ladies and gentlemen, enjoy this conversation, learn about this new sleep biohack with CEO of Somnee, Tim Rosa. Tim Rosa, welcome to the Thrive State Podcast.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
You are quite the icon in the health and wellness space, and I can't wait to dive into that in just a little bit. But there is a portion of the show my audience really loves and enjoys because it gives us a little bit of personality and a side of you that we might not know outside of your personal life. It's called the Five to Thrive. 5 questions that come straight out of my rectum into this game show style
Can't wait to hear it.
segment of the show. 1,000 points each. And get this, if you win the Five to Thrive, you get a healthy meal on me the next time we meet. So Tim Rosa, let me ask you, are you ready to play the
I
Five to
am.
Thrive? Question number one is, as a child, what did you dream of being when you grew up?
Professional baseball player.
Oh, amazing. 1,000 points there. Question number two, what one book, quote, or phrase entered your life and completely changed the outlook or the trajectory of your life after being exposed to it?
That is a good question.
Yeah, we can come back to it. All right. So he's saving that on the past. You could still have access to doing 1,000 points. Question number three is, if I gave you and handed you a mic, put you in front of 100,000 people to sing a karaoke song, and you must do so, which song would you pick?
Oh man, that is a really good question. It would probably be something from the Smiths,
Okay.
just because Smiths' first concert ever. I'm a huge Smiths fan, so it would be a song from the Smiths, and I cannot do Morrissey's falsetto, so it would be really bad. Definitely be a Smiths song.
All right, sounds good. So far, 2,000 points. Here's the third question. The third question is, what one trait about you, one talent about you that most people don't know about?
I'm obsessed with surfing. Surfing is my mental escape, my physical escape, my spiritual escape. Being in the ocean is like nothing else. And so it's really hard to find a healthy activity where it hits on all three. So for me, it's really about surfing and my commitment to surfing.
Here we go. So next question here is question number four. What are you most proud?
What am I most proud of? So outside of having a 12-year-old son, I would say professionally, I'm most proud of ringing the bell at the New York Stock Exchange with my entire marketing team and sharing that moment together. Because when I started Fitbit, this is at Fitbit, we were a tiny company, and it was blood, sweat, and tears. We went from nothing to like one of the biggest brands, in the world, and certainly in the top 20. To share such an incredible moment with, I called my team Fitbit my 9 to 5 family, my work family. And so to share that with them was a really special moment. So I was very proud of that. And, it was the biggest IPO in history for a consumer electronic brand. So that day was incredible. And we took over the New York Stock Exchange and we invited all of our customers and partners and had a workout with Harley Pasternak, the celebrity trainer. And I think we had about 100,000 people go through Wall Street that day, and it was an incredible experience. So
wow, amazing! I get the energy there. So 4,000 points. We're going back to question number two, which is, what one book, phrase, idea, or concept in life that entered your life wherever it came in and completely changed the trajectory of it?
I would say so. It was a quote from a writer and philosopher named Aldous Huxley. And it was, I can remember it correctly, it was, cleansing the doors of perception helps lead to a knowledge of one's true self. Something along that line. And I remember reading that, and I was like, it just created this curiosity and just had a really big impact on me. And that was in college. And I really got into, through that, sensory deprivation and flotation techniques. And I know it's kind of a weird thing, but I took to the next level of like, okay, cleansing the doors of perception, just like eliminating as much noise as possible. And for me, it was a profound quote. And, I took it to the next level. So
amazing. 5,000 points, which means you win the 5 to Thrive.
I'll take it.
You get winning soundtrack from me, and you win a free meal on me as well. Congratulations there.
All right.
Let's dive in a little bit. I'm really excited to know why you are excited about really taking on the lead and the reins of Somnee. Now, before we get into the sleep epidemic, before we get into the technology, like you have just said, you have taken Fitbit, a consumer wearable device, and really had this huge, large IPO. And you work with some of the largest health and electronic brands out there. So really, the world is your oyster, but now you have decided to latch on to Somnee. What inspired you to take on, number one, you were marketing previously, but now to take on basically the entire role of CEO of this technology? What about it, and what about the circumstances made your soul say yes to this opportunity?
Okay, I'm going to answer that in a couple phases.
Sure.
So
Yep.
first is, at Fitbit, we pioneered the idea of sleep tracking, and we also sleep sensors. And I feel like Fitbit is a part of the story for driving awareness for what's happening with sleep and creating that curiosity and that understanding. Granted, no wearable that's downstream from the head is going to be truly accurate as really sleep trends and sleep trend tracking, but that's just the reality. And so we did a great job in terms of creating that awareness for understanding your sleep. Sleep is this great mystery. Sleep was the most engaging feature at the time within our app and our service experience. So I knew the excitement and the engagement, but I also knew about the issues and the challenges that we all face around sleep. So I'm going to start there. Then I'm going to go into, I got a call. So we sold Fitbit, that whole story. I took some time off and was just kind of doing a reset on my life. And I got a call from Vinod Khosla Ventures. He's a legendary VC, and he reached out and said, look, I'm working with Dr. Matt Walker, Dr. Robert Knight, and some other renowned scientists at UC Berkeley. They pioneered and patented this technology that helps people with sleep. And the irony is that I've had an adult insomnia forever, and for my adult life, and I was taking THC and CBD, and I was taking it on a regular basis, and that's how I fell asleep. So cut to conversation with Vinod is like, you need to do this. It's a CEO role. I told him that I need to try the product. I know about Matt, I know about Dr. Knight, but this is like frontier technology, and I really want to understand if it actually works. And so I tried out, and on my second session, I fell asleep with this device on. And I was blown away. Obviously, I wasn't taking THC. It was my own experiment, and it worked. And so I basically, decided I wasn't going to take on the job. But I said, look, to Matt and Vinod and Ram and Dr. Knight, the only way I'm going to take it is if I can completely reset the company, the product experience, the service, how you communicate, because there are things in the app that's tied to the service that I didn't really even understand. I'm not a trained scientist. And I'm like, look, there's too much friction in healthcare, and there's too much friction in this product, this experience, and we need to eliminate that. At the end of the day, my mom in Michigan needs to understand what the hell we're talking about. I'm not saying simplify it in the way that we did at Fitbit, but you need to make this more user-friendly in understanding what's happening, how you drive efficacy, showing the changes, and just also simplifying the product and the experience. You can't have multiple pieces. And so anyway, I said, look, if you allow me to do that, then I'll come on board as your CEO and help you build this and do it the right way. And so here we are.
Well, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Sleep is so important because, this is one of the first bioenergetic things that I actually talk about in my book, Thrive State.
Mm-hmm.
The bioenergetics we have in our lives, a big component of it is sleep, but yet as a society, we are very sleep deprived. I would probably say that when I was an attending doctor over at UCLA and some of the other institutions that I worked at, sleep was one of these things that, like you, I was as a insomniac. So let's
Mhm.
talk about your personal experience there. Why do you think you were an insomniac, and why do you think that sleep deprivation is so prevalent in our society today?
I think the thing I've learned about being here, I thought I knew a lot about sleep previously, but working with the most famous scientists in the world when it comes to, sleep has been, my own education. But I think everyone is different. Every circumstance, every brain, your genetic, there are a lot of things that play a role in how you sleep. You know, we have a lot of people I've learned that have PTSD, veterans, that, in some cases haven't slept more than 3 hours a night since Vietnam. And they try our product and, they fall asleep and they're sleeping like 6 to 7 hours, which is, incredible. But I think for me, I grew up with ADD, really ADHD. I couldn't still, my brain was incredibly active. I was just going a million miles a minute forever. And so, discovering THC and CBD as an adult was had a huge impact. Little did I know and understand that, taking THC on a regular basis is not good for the brain. It affects your REM sleep. It affects your mental state. It affects a lot of different things over time. I think acute and there's chronic use of THC. And Matt talks a lot about it. In fact, I think in his most recent podcast, he was talking about the effects of THC on the brain and how, it can be, have a lot of, you create a lot of issues and have a negative impact, as I just talked about. But I think everyone is different, to answer your question. And, my own personal journey is what it is, and yours might be completely different. I know that when I exercise and I push my body to the limit, I have an incredible sleep. There are a lot of natural things that you can do to sort of hack your sleep. And, I think the great thing about having people like, you and Matt and Dr. Huberman and Peter Tia and some of these, scientists and doctors as influencers is the amount of scientific knowledge and research that we now have access to. And so understanding that and how you can start to, hack your sleep in a lot of different ways. And them are very natural and healthy, and they're just little things that you can do. So anyway, hopefully that answers your question.
It does answer the question. And this is, I would probably say pretty exciting technology. And you are probably one of several companies that are working on brainwaves to be able to address sleep. So, I understand you yourself are not a PhD, which is perfect because we'd like to explain to the audience a little bit about, the technology that's behind Somnee. As some people might have already known that this is a neurostimulating type of device. And so it sends some electrical signals to your brain. What exactly is it doing? How does it, entrain or map your brain so that it's delivering the right signals for sleep?
Yeah, so that's a good question. The neuroscience and neurostimulation it's transcranial electrical stimulation. It's a broad category. There are different. There are many pathways in. What we do is alternating current. So, they're just like I was saying. Everyone is different. Every brain is different. Every day is different. What our scientists discovered after 4 or 5 years of R&D on this technology is that it's the most efficient way to have it on the frontal cortex. So, and when I say that, what that means is the alternating current allows us to personalize. So our patents are around the personalization of the
Mm.
stimulation, because you have, direct current, you have fixed stim, which means that it's a generalized stimulation. So the same for everyone, which it might be good for, a few, but, broad population, it's not impactful. And just like everything else in life, it's about personalization. It's about learning you, understanding you, adapting to you, and then personalizing that stimulation to you. So the way it works is you wear our product for about 15 minutes before you go to sleep. We use EEG to understand your optimal. It takes about 2 to 5 sessions to figure that out. And then our machine learning models and our AI models start to apply the personalization. It learns and it evolves with you so that we understand the optimal state to perform that stimulation. And so, like I said, it was about 5 years of research and development. They've perfected the use of the technology. We help you fall asleep. We cut that in half. We eliminate that time it takes to fall asleep. And then we also eliminate the disruption. So, the thing that's really unique about what we're doing is the personalization. It is the most optimal way into having an effect on the brain. As you know, the brain is really an electrical system. The language of the brain is electrical frequency. And so it's safe. The technology has been around for decades. How we're applying it through the personalization is what's really unique. And there are other ways in. There's, as I mentioned, there's fixed current. There's magnetic, there's audio is another way in. And so in terms of neuromodulation, but what we're doing is really unique and it has the most efficient impact on the brain.
That's amazing. Now, what you mentioned the safety profile. Is this something that we know is safe for long-term use? It's a relatively new device, and if somebody were to use this for a while, what has the data shown thus far in terms of its efficacy? Is this something that you would be falling asleep with every single night? Does it lead to improvements in sleep quality with prolonged use, even without the device at some point? What's the data showing now? I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. If you are, I just wanted to let you know, join our community. There's so many free resources and a great community of people that desire health, happiness, human potential, to have more in their life, more health, more energy. And when you have those two things together, you could create more happiness, more abundance, whether it be financial, romantic, all these things in your life. And if you're just starting out, you don't know where to go, just sign up for thrivestatestarter.com, because in there you're going to get a bundle of information that includes a longevity ebook, a longevity and performance resource guide, lecture notes that come from my keynotes at Google, at Fortune 500 companies, all the insights in that keynote in lecture slide form given to you. And then finally, breathwork. I share 3 powerful breathwork exercises to access calm, which really gives you clarity and peace during the day, to access energy if you need to wake up and really motivate yourself, and finally a breathwork routine that you could do every single morning so that you could be very intentional with how you create that day. You could find all this stuff delivered free to your inbox at thrivestatestarter.com. And our community is growing. If you want to be a part of a community of people that desire the Thrive State, that are really in Thrive State themselves, and help other people along with that, you could be a part of the community. You can get group coaching from me. We do breathwork sessions, meditation sessions, and you also get to drop in and participate in podcasts in the future. You could find more about the community at mythrivestate.com. That's mythrivestate.com. So check out those resources. You're not going to be disappointed, and please enjoy the remainder of this podcast.
No, so it's not. It's like the analogy of brushing your teeth. You brush your teeth every night. If you don't brush your teeth, then you have a lot of bacteria in your mouth, and your teeth will eventually start to rot out. But you do need to use it frequency. It's not one of these things where over time it completely changes the way that you sleep. It's not. On average, we have so our entire customer base uses it 3 times a night. We have many that use it every single night. And like I said, it has a profound impact on changing the way people sleep. It helps them fall asleep faster. And more importantly, it also has a big impact on sleep maintenance, which is disruptions throughout the evening. I think there are other technologies that are of neurostim that are out there. People use white noise. I think sound certainly has an impact on onset. And there's a research, around that. You don't need to spend $400 on a neuro device that is you can literally buy a white noise machine and have the same level of impact. But what we're doing is we're affecting overall sleep quality. So onset, maintenance, and the quality of sleep. And the thing that's that we're seeing is we obviously are having the impact, but it's about how do we look at the objective and the subjective data. Matt is really big on this. Feels like people rely too much on their sleep data, their sleep score, certainly with wearables, as we all know, and Matt talks about, they're not accurate data. You shouldn't be looking at your REM sleep from your wearable, that's downstream from your head. The most accurate place that you can track your sleep is at the head. And so one thing. The other thing is really understanding the overall quality of your sleep and how you feel. Is the sensation of when you wake up is really important, and how we correlate that over time. We just did a big app update using some of Matt's questions in the journal. Every morning you use the device, or use it during the evening. In the morning, we ask you a set of questions. And we just rolled that out, and we will be tying that back to the objective and the subjective data sets to show that change over time. And so we're really excited about that. And that was a big deal, that was specifically driven by Matt and his research and what he wants to see. So
that is really exciting to hear all the data that's coming out of it. What I would like to ask is, what has been sort of like the most exciting data that is out in terms of the efficacy and potentially, comparing this modality? I don't know if you compared it to other type of modalities. People are using melatonin, people are using other type of things that are out there. What have you discovered thus far with your research in terms of how this modality compares to maybe some of the other hacks that people are using for sleep?
Yeah, I mean, there's some, we talked about THC and the impact there, but certainly, we outperform pills like Ambien. We talked about how we cut the time it takes to fall asleep. We reduce, sleep maintenance and disruptions by a third. And so we absolutely had an incredible impact. Basically my office here is 4 sleep labs. So we're constantly doing studies. Right now, we're doing some interesting work on around personalization, and we have some other things in the works with athletes, et cetera. But we've had an incredible, and we've published some of the research that's out there. What I'm excited for is what's ahead, because I think, as we talked about in the beginning, it's really about, in healthcare, it's about how do you reduce the friction and how do you drive efficacy? So the incredible thing about Somnee is that we have 93% retention post-trial. What that means is people have used it for 30 days and they've continued on and they've had success. And so what I'm excited about is, as we improve the product and the experience in the service, so meaning we start to learn more about you, we, improve the personalization over time. I'm really excited about what is ahead for the company and how we improve the product and service and even like what we would call coaching. And so that's the thing that really is the next level for where we're going with the product and the service itself.
Super exciting. As we're having a conversation, my assistant's listening and just sending questions to us. And apparently my audience is interested in understanding what exactly. So, you've got alternating currents that are entering your brain. Is there certain parts of the brain or the brain system that's being activated and stimulated? And what are maybe some of these downstream physiological effects that allows us to get the efficacy of result?
Yeah. So we're stimulating the frontal cortex, and the frontal cortex, affects memory and cognition, anxiety and depression, obviously sleep as well. And so we're on sleep, but there are other areas. I mean, the company was started by some of the most neuroscientists in the world. And, Dr. Knight, as an example, is really excited about, using EEG to understand the brain and how you can affect cognition and understanding cognition with the elderly, cognition with people that are early onset dementia and Alzheimer's. And there's some really interesting research that's happening around that. Some of that's out there. But I'll say this from personal experience. When I first started using Somnee and going through that journey as someone that has had, ADD and insomnia, that when I am using Somnee consistently, obviously it's having impact on my sleep, but it's also having an impact on my clarity. I just feel like I have more focus. I feel more sharp. And, how much of that is because I'm sleeping better? How much of that is because the neurostimulation is affecting, my ability to retain information or reducing my ADD? We don't have that data yet. I can tell you that there is a correlation and there's some things in the works around that, as you can imagine, but I'll just leave it at that. So, but we are stimulating the frontal, which affects, a lot of different areas. So.
Yeah, as you mentioned that, are you potential future applications in terms of, being able to stimulate your brain, as you were saying, for cognition, potentially tap into flow states or improve other aspects of cognition with neurostimulation?
Absolutely. And all I say is that we are very much, we're right now laser focused on sleep, getting sleep right, getting the product right, getting the service right. That is the biggest opportunity for us to, impact and change lives. So, my personal mission is to affect as many people as possible in a good way, in a healthy way. And so, as you know, we are literally, it's not just a US epidemic, but it's a global sleep epidemic. And so we need to Gen 1 products. We have an awesome product roadmap. My goal, my vision for this company as it relates to sleep, we've talked about some other areas, but right now it's focused on sleep. I want your doctor to prescribe Somnee instead of Ambien or Trazodone, or you pick your sleeping pill. As Matt says, they're like a baseball bat to the brain. There are a lot of side effects. They're dangerous. And so the same way, if you have sleep apnea, which is, is an obstruction, the reality is insomnia is 5x the size of apnea. Right now, you go to the doctor, they prescribe a CPAP machine, and that's how you solve it. The number one default, if you have a sleep issue, is a sleeping pill. And, we're like electric medicine. Electroceutical is, how we talk about it internally. And that's where we want to get to. And I say that we will be submitting a product to the FDA. We are going on that journey. So, which is really exciting. And obviously, as you know, there's a rigorous process that is to that. So that is our path as it relates to sleep. So I want to be, I want to be the ResMed of insomnia. ResMed absolutely cornered sleep apnea, and they have great products and whatnot. What we're doing is very much focused on insomnia onset and maintenance. There are other technologies that are out there that, we all affect onset. But the reality is some of those technologies don't have an overall impact on the overall quality of your sleep and certainly sleep maintenance. And that's what we're focused on. So my goal is to be the default. When you go to your doctor, they prescribe you a Somnee, and, that's our path.
That's amazing. As a physician myself, I have to say that during residency and early on, certainly when I was overweight, diabetic, all these things, that one of the prescription meds I was on consistently was an Ambien or was a Lunesta, was a sleep aid. And, it took a lot of overhaul in my own life and how I was approaching life that I was able to weed myself off. So I definitely know that even in the healthcare space, there's so many people that are reliant on these medications. And I just wanted to reiterate the danger of using some of these medications long-term, because you're really not getting the quality of sleep. Even if you're getting the quantity of sleep, you're not at your highest level of cognition when you're waking up the next day. And so for somebody who might be going through that right now, who might be reliant on, these that are altering sleep, what would you say is this, is it maybe just trying out the Somnee? Is there other things that you found as you were going from an insomniac to somebody who's getting some really good sleep now could really help somebody, master sleep?
I'm going to answer that. I'm going to answer that in 1 second. I want to say this. So we're a tiny little startup. I'm not yet at Fitbit level. We will get there. This company will be bigger than Fitbit over time. We might not grow as quickly, but we will be bigger than Fitbit. Right now, as a tiny startup, I have 511 doctors across the United States that are recommending Somnee instead of a sleeping pill. That's how bad it is. and how, there aren't many solutions for addressing sleep issues and certainly insomnia. You have CBTI, which obviously, as you know, is behavioral therapy. There's a lot of friction, over time. But the point I wanted to make is that we are not yet a regulatory product, and we have 511 doctors that are recommending Somnee instead of taking a sleeping pill. So I think that says a lot about the current state of, sleep and issues and insomnia and what the default is. So there's that. So I'm going to come back to your question right now, which was, what are the other things that you can do? For me, it was all about Somnee was a game changer. It's great. I haven't touched THC and CBD since, which is incredible. The other thing is that I've learned through this. It's funny, my whole life I've known this, but you don't really think about it until you learn about what's happening in the science. But I sleep really hot. And part of taking this job, Vinod Khosla, I mentioned, he was the one who recruited me. I love this company. It's called 8 Sleep. They make a technique that cools, you can control your bed and your temperature. And, we were talking about that product, and he actually gifted it to me. And I have to say that having 8 Sleep has also been a game changer for me in combination with the neurostimulation, because I sleep incredibly hot. My partner is, she's the opposite. And so being able to control that is really powerful. And as you know, you need to decrease your body temperature by 2 to 3 degrees in order to fall asleep. So having that already programmed into, by the time I get in bed, I have a cool bed, and then it sort of learns with you. That for me has been incredibly powerful. And I would imagine that, we're also looking at midlife, like in menopause, who, on average, they're waking up 3 to 7 times. They have major sleep issues. Menopause, there's the neurological aspect of it. There's the hormonal. And so we're focused on, how we can affect the brain. But imagine if you're a woman in menopause, you're wearing Somnee and it's connected to your 8 Sleep, where you can, if you're having hot flashes, know what's happening with your brain. And hopefully as 8 Sleep improves over time, it understands your body temperature and can start to more quickly help regulate that. The power of that, and just doing the research right now that we're looking at with women that are going through menopause, it is a thing. And so Matt has some research out there that looks at the impact of sleep. And so if we can address the neurological side, as well as, if 8 Sleep can, or other products, it's not just 8 Sleep, can help regulate the body, especially when a woman is starting to have a hot flash, that's a real tool. So
amazing. Now, we're going to have a special link for people if they want to actually try out the Somnee themselves. And so make sure you check out the show notes for that. But how do people, if they want to find out a little bit more about the technology, follow what you're doing, where should people go?
SomneeSleep.com or Somnee Sleep on Instagram or Facebook. We are constantly publishing our research and data in collaboration with Matt. So, that's where you can buy Somnee. We actually have a discount code if you sign up for the email list. So, but that's the best place, SomneeSleep.com. And then on Instagram, we're daily publishing research and information through our lab and Matt's lab. And so there's a lot of in fact, we have Dr. Matt Walker's top 10 tips for better sleep. That is one of the most accessed links on our website. So you can go to our site and get that and learn about that. So
amazing. I really want to thank you for the wisdom you shared. And obviously, I could understand just why you're so excited to lead this initiative.
Sleep deprivation is one of the major epidemics, causing the chronic health crisis to elevate. But I'm very curious, as I asked you the very last question about what you find has been your best medicine. Now, you could use this, you can answer this however you'd like, physical, the metaphysical. What in your life is your best medicine?
Well, I would say the 3 things that are my medicine. I talked about surfing, because it affects my physical health, my mental health. And, it's hard if something like that does both. So surfing, I work out on a regular basis. And so, exercise is incredibly important. And there's scientific evidence that it also improves your deep sleep, which obviously is important. And then my son. So those three things are my game changers in the way I live my life. And sometimes I can always do my Somnee, can't always, go surfing. Sometimes when I'm traveling, working out the way that I like to work out can be a bit challenging, but I've always got my Somnee. But I would say those are the three things that have the biggest impact. The other is caffeine. I've learned through, working here and with Matt in his research that for me, in my body, caffeine stays in my system for 12 hours. For some people, it's 8 to 12 or 13 hours. So I've learned if I'm going to bed at 10 p.m. every night, I can't have my triple espresso 10 a.m. And if I do, it has an impact on my sleep. So I've learned that the hard way, but Matt actually has the science behind it that proves that it does have an impact. And I'm talking about that, especially, so many of us drink caffeine and, everyone talks about sleep and their issues around sleep. And I'm like, well, it's lunchtime and you're having an espresso. Like, do you go to bed at midnight or 1 every night? So anyway.
Beautiful. Tim Rosa, I thank you for your wisdom and really sharing your passion with the world. I really think this is going to be a game-changing technology. So if you want to try out Somnee of your own, there's a very special link associated with this podcast. Check it out there. Tim Rosa, thank you for being on the Thrive State podcast.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Great meeting you.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Thrive State podcast. And if you're finding that this content is really helping you and your family members, please consider supporting our mission and our cause of elevating health, happiness, and human potential for people all over the world. You can do so by making sure that you subscribe to this podcast, sharing it with your friends and family members, and leaving us a 5-star review wherever podcasts are heard. All these things are going to really help elevate the show and to give us the resources to continue to bring more content just like this to yourself as well as the people that you love. If you haven't already, you might want to consider joining our community. We actually have a community where people get to engage with me in group sessions where we do breath work, meditation, where we do challenges together, really to be able to get us access to health, happiness, human potential so that we could have longevity and performance in our life as well. You can check out our community at mythrivestate.com. That's mythrivestate.com. And if you haven't already, pick up a copy of my book, Thrive State. It really gives you all the tools, the pillars that you need to create a blueprint to control the energetics of your life. Who are you? How you show up in the world? The choices that you consistently make create an energy in your body, and you can control this. And when you can control that, you also control the messages you give to your DNA that gives you access, again, to optimal health, longevity, and peak performance. And let me also just share a free gift to you. If you haven't already, please pick up my longevity and performance bundle where I share lecture notes, ebooks, breathwork exercises, and longevity and performance resources at thrivestatestarter.com. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Thank you for helping us grow. Remember always, my friends, that you are your best medicine.